I'm Kurt McKay. I'm the director of the Office of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Resources, soon to become Center, as, as soon as we find a good name for it. Um, I've been here at the university for 21 years, first as a graduate student in library and information science, and I just never left. I never dreamed when I started working at the university that somebody would someday pay me to be gay. It's sort of different from the gay for pay porn star thing, because nobody wanted me to be a porn star either. I came out in a different way from, I think, most adolescents now. I certainly knew I was gay by the time I was 7, even though I didn't have any words for it. I knew I was attracted to boys and that you weren't supposed to talk about that. I didn't do anything about it at all until, maybe I was 15 or 16, and it was a sleepover kind of thing, and it was one of those stories, you know. I didn't do anything else about that at all afterwards until I was probably 35. I was a public school teacher. I was deeply closeted because of that, and it wasn't until a high school student just point blank asked me, "Are you gay?" That I said, yes. Coming out, I quit teaching, feeling like I couldn't do both things, and I don't know if I could have then or not. Was involved continually since then with one guy off and on. Once I got here, I had the ideal place to be out. I was a graduate student in library and information science, which is a very tolerant kind of field. I was studying to be a children's librarian, and I got to look for all kinds of children's and young adult materials, you know, finding resources that would serve as role models for teenagers, especially as they went through the coming out process. And this was all sort of in the late 80s, so it was during the height of the AIDS epidemic, which probably kept me on the sort of straight and narrow just out of fear as much as anything. And eventually I ended up here in the LGBT Resources Office. So that's sort of how it went. It was when you're as closeted as I was, there's really a terrible cost to that closet in terms of not even being able to look for relationships. You know, as an adult in Rockford, I didn't know any gay people. I didn't know where to look for them, and I probably would have been afraid to look if I had known. I dated women for a while, fell in love with one, fortunately didn't marry her, and she's still a really good friend. As it was when I finally did come out, sort of exploded out of the closet, at the end of my teaching career, she was the only one of my teacher friends that had no clue that I was gay. The rest of them had pretty much figured out. And what I remember one of them saying is, "Oh yeah, we figured that out a long time ago. We just thought you didn't want to talk about it." And being able to, if any one of them had said, "Are you gay?" it would have been so helpful. I think that cost to me emotionally and perhaps physically too. I mean, it kept me alive. I didn't get AIDS as a result, but that's something I sort of regret. Along with, gee, if I'd been out, how many kids would I have been able to be helpful to? So I actually taught for 20 years before leaving. At the alternative school, we took our 6th graders, for 8 years, we took our 6th graders to Washington, D.C. We took the train from Rockford, and we stayed in a church beyond the Capitol. And because it was a church, on Sundays, we had to be out of the building or go to church or be quiet. Well, there's no way we were going to be quiet. So every Sunday for 8 years, we went to the zoo. And D.C. has this great zoo. But they were just building their metro system. And so the first year we took the bus. The second year they had the metro to DuPont Circle the gay neighborhood of DC. So we took the train, took the metro to DuPont Circle, came up, and then walked up the street to the zoo, half a mile, whatever it was. So for 8 years, I walked through DuPont Circle, the gay mecca of DC, had no clue that it was there. And now I've got to go back sometime and say, how long has this been gay? Lambda Rising bookstore with rainbow flags is right there. You can't miss the gayness of it. But if it was gay in the late 70s and early 80s, I totally missed it. And I don't know if I ever would have come out if this high school senior hadn't said, "Are you gay?" My career hasn't been a career based on plans that I made. When I was an undergrad, I didn't even think about career. I thought about learning a lot of interesting stuff. And then I got to be a teacher. And then I learned how to be a teacher and got the certification you had to have after I was already doing it. Then I decided to be a librarian. And I ended up not being a librarian, So while I believe that having some sort of sense of where your career might be taking you or where your life may be taking you can be a really good thing, I don't think it has to be, that you can just have things work out pretty much all right by just sort of following the wind and hoping that you're not making crazy decisions. And that's what I'm sort of thinking I'll do now is, I don't know where it's going to take me next, but I figure it'll work out okay.